The coaches are in. When you need a timely, transparent friend, tune into the coaches are in. Talking career, business, health, and wealth. You got a friend now. Into the coaches are in. With authenticity, come on, let's take a seat and tune in.
Hello, happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you. How are ya?
I'm great. And hello and good evening to those who are tuning in live or watching the replay. We are here for another episode of The Coaches Are In, and we're going to quickly introduce ourselves. I'm Dr. Sharita Weatherspoon. I'm the creator of The Coaches Are In, and I'm an operations strategist and alignment coach, and I work with Black women, helping them to launch and grow their businesses.
And I'm Malika Turner, and I am your confidence coach, and I help women build confidence in multiple ways through coaching, teaching, apparel, and now with building in my what I call the pivot room as we talk a little bit more about how we can build confidence using AI. So that's what I'm doing lately.
Awesome. And then we are short a coach
We
this
are.
evening. Coach Allison has the nerve to be on the beach
Be
somewhere.
on the beach. Well, it's snowing where I am every now and then, raining and cold. Okay, the nerve.
Yes, well, thank goodness we don't have any snow right now. But it's a little chilly today. But yes, so she'll be joining us next time. But we have a great episode for you tonight.
Yes,
and I'm going to turn it over to Malika so she can introduce our guest.
Yes. So we have tonight on The Coaches Are In, we're going to be joined by someone whose work on healing, wellness, and protecting Black women, right? And that's what we'd like to talk about here today. Our guest is Erin Maybin, and we're so excited to bring her. She's a healthy hair care specialist. She's an advocate and an empathetic healer whose mission goes for beyond just hair. Her journey into this work is shaped by a life-changing accident that occurred in 2016. And what it did was it forced her to slow down, to listen to her body, and rethink what healing really means. So tonight we're going to talk with her. We're going to talk about her story and why Black women must learn to listen to their bodies and what their bodies are telling them. So this is going to be a powerful conversation. I hope you're ready. Call your friends, your neighbors, everybody, and let them know we're on here. But we'd like to welcome to the stage Erin Maybin.
Hi, how are you?
Hello.
Hi,
Hello.
Erin.
Welcome, Erin.
Thank you for having me.
We're so glad you could join us.
Yes. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in to the questions we have for you. All right. So Malika mentioned this accident. So I know when like people hear you had this life-changing accident, it's they want to know what happened. Right? They want to know what happened. So what was it that moment that completely changed the trajectory of your life? What happened that day?
I got hit in my head, so to speak, right? So in this industry, there's a saying, it's like, head down, hands up. Okay. And I think during that time, I was really living that way with my hands up, just go. I'm working, my head's down, I'm not paying attention. And this one day, my daughters and I, we would get our nails done regularly. And this time we were going for a special occasion. It was for my best friend's son's baptism. So, we're going to get our girl on. And we're stopped at the stoplight safely. Everybody's good. And then all of a sudden, we get hit from behind, like full force. He was going full speed.
Wow.
And so what that did is it ping-ponged me between both cars. I remember getting out of the car and, my first reaction was like, oh, but then I was like, whoa, I was so lightheaded. I felt like I was about to pass out. So I had to sit down. And so the ambulance came, they took me. And basically what happened is I ended up with a large hematoma on my occipital lobe area of my head. And then, of course, with the ricocheting in the front, I had damage in the front. So that basically rerouted my brain.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very, very, very impactful. My life was never the same. And what I suffered was basically a traumatic brain injury, also known as a concussion, but it was a severe concussion. Um, and so what happened after that was just my like journey, and I can go into that, or, if you had other things before, because I can just, carry on with that.
Well, you know what, I think I do have a question that might be a nice tie into where we would want to go as you continue to share about your story. Talk a little bit about after the accident. What did you begin to understand about your body and healing that you hadn't realized before?
That I had the answers to my healing, and there was nobody outside of that, no medicine, no pill, nothing outside of that. And I say that because during my recovery, I wasn't able to stand up for like more than 20 minutes. Okay. Reading, my reading was impacted. My mother actually would have to fill out the paperwork for me because reading the words, it was like they were moving around because my left eye was impacted greatly. These glasses, although they're really fashionable, they're actually medically needed. I have a prism here, and the rose color is so I don't get migraines. And so after that, that the reading part really impacted me because I love reading. And so not being able to read the way that I once could, or write, or just, my left and my right, my cognitive skills were so out of whack. But the one thing that I realized through like the migraines, because I would get severe migraines, is that I was craving walnuts. And I mean like craving them by the bagful. By the bagful, like I was just eating walnuts, and I'm like, okay, walnuts, right? And then I was like, you know what? Let me go a little further and kind of look and see why am I craving these? And come to find out, walnuts are a brain food, right? So basically, my body was craving its healing.
Wow.
And and so with eating those, it did help a lot. Because the medications they had me on, I had bags and bags full of medication that they wanted me to take, from muscle relaxers to opioids to, just Tylenol, ibuprofen, like on a regular basis, migraine medications. And I have autoimmune. So that was like, no, I just genuinely couldn't do it. So I had to find other things. And it turned into me kind of embarking on a wellness journey.
Wow. You just said something. I just want to say this. Correct me. You said my body was craving its healing.
Yes.
Through the walnuts. That's good.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah.
The body knows. The body knows.
Yes.
Before the doctors do, but the body knows what it needs to heal.
Yes.
Good thing.
Yes, it does.
Now, so what we got to do is just add a little bit of clarity there, right? Because your body craving the fried shrimp and the crabs and the chocolate, that's not hip for healing. That's a different kind of craving.
Right. Or we're not saying you should go to a doctor. Right. You should go to a doctor, but the body was created to heal.
Yes.
So.
And so were so the things on the earth, the natural things on the earth, were created to play a role in that.
Right. Yeah. That's good.
That's good. Yes. So Erin, prior to your accident, were you already working in like this realm of healthy hair care, or is that something that came about after the accident?
So I was always about healthy hair care, right? This just allowed me to take it to the max, right? Take it up a notch. And that was just making it about whole body healing. Because when I came into this industry as a cosmetologist, we're taught the superficial aspect of it. We're taught the cosmetic, the aesthetic. This is beauty. This is what we're trying to do. We're enhancing. Right. And what this brought me was the ability to heal, not just enhance, but to heal. And so I started identifying in my clients things that I was already doing that I didn't realize that were healing, because again, I've always been on a healing journey, but sometimes when, like I said, my hands were up, my head was down, when we get hit on the head, we now have to really pay attention. you know,
Right.
and so that space put me in a place, in a position to really kind of acknowledge myself and the work that I was doing. And now it's, you know, presenting itself as this is the work you will continue to do. So.
Wow. Wow.
Good.
You know, it's interesting because, as you know, Black women are taught, like, press through the pain, keep going, right? You got this.
Mm-hmm.
But what are some things that our bodies are telling us that we ignore? What are those signals that our body tells us that um, um, that we ignore?
I would say when we're tired, when we need rest, you know, when we just genuinely just need to sit down and just unplug everything, like close it all, close off the children, the husband, the friends, everybody, and just be still and sit with ourselves, you know, with no extracurriculars, right? No books, no, not even reading, just being still, literally still with yourself. That is very powerful to me.
That's good.
Yeah, because that's something that Black women in general, I think, tend to be challenged with because, you know, we were taught we got to work, we got to be going, we got to take care of other people. And one, even just to take time for ourselves to do our own self-care is like a stretch at times, let alone like sitting in what we would say doing nothing.
Right.
And like not productive versus seeing it as a way to rest and to revive and to heal yourself, and that silence and that stillness being restorative.
Yeah, that's good.
So
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Erin.
No,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think, you know, it's just something that's literally been passed down to us from generations of survival, right? So most of us are operating in survival daily and don't even realize it. And so what that translates into is autoimmune deficiencies or, you know, eating issues or bowel issues or, you know, headaches or, I mean, everything you can think of related to stress. Right. It comes from our need for survival that we can never really just kind of like, I'm just going to breathe this out, you know, from. So we have to be radical about that.
Yeah. So with your working with hair and hair care and your personal journey, were you able to find or like discover a connection like between hair and our overall health?
Oh, 100%. Our hair is typically like the first alarm system to any type of malnutrition or in vitamin deficiencies in our body. They tell us if we're sick or not, because our hair and our nails are an extension of our skin, which is an extension of our inner body, right? And how we eat, what we don't eat, you know, and sometimes, you know, we may think that there's something wrong with our hair. Oh, it's dry. It's not getting moisture. It's this or it's that. It may be something internal, right? And so what we're indoctrinated to believe is that there's some magic product out there that's going to fix that. When essentially it's you are the person that can fix it because it's inside of you, and everybody's body is different.
Yeah. I like that. The way you frame that hair is that indicator. Hair and nails are the indicator that something is wrong or something we need to pay more attention. And I'm not sure that we think about that. I think that sometimes we look at hair after the fact, right? So we are diagnosed with something and then all of a sudden our hair, you know, is impacted, as opposed to really being mindful, like, hey, my hair is thinning or my scalp is sore or my nails are brittle or, you know, and we don't think that something could be wrong. We go and find what's on the shelf to, let me add more moisture. Let me get my nails done. Let me stop painting my nails and just put moisturizer on my hands. Let me take biotin. You know, we think that way.
And it's really just like sometimes as simple as your diet. You know, sometimes it's just as simple as what are you putting in your body? You know, what are you intaking on a daily, and not just diet wise, just energetically, right? Who are you surrounding yourself by? All of that plays a part in our overall wellness.
That energy. I think, Dr. Sharita, we learned a few shows ago that our hair eats last. So it's interesting.
Yeah. So how do you connect healing and wellness and hair care and then your work with advocating for Black women? Like, tell us how all of that fits together.
Well, I mean, I think the first part is I'm a Black woman, right?
Yeah.
So I'm speaking from my personal experience and in hopes that I connect with other Black women. And from my, experience with owning a salon and, meeting all walks of life of Black women, and not just Black women, men, it's really the same consistent story. And how I'm able to kind of bring that all together is by firsthand experience, like, hey, this is what I experienced and maybe this will support you. Like I love to share this story that I had a client and she was on medication from a doctor for insomnia, right? And she came in, she's like, girl, she was like, I just can't sleep. This medication, it doesn't help. It doesn't do anything. And, because I have this knowing, this understanding of people and it tends to like pop in my head as this like, I can't even really explain it. It's like a download and then I know. And so what I was able to feed back to her was it's her third eye and her crown chakra were overactive. And so I said, go listen to some, singing bowl or crown for your crown chakra and your third eye. And so she did that. And like, I guess maybe a month or so went by and she came in and she was like, girl, I went to sleep. And I was like, see, I told you, because a lot of times they're giving us medication not to solve a problem.
Right.
It's literally because somebody told them, hey, we need you to sell this amount of units, take this. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't take medication because, we do need it, right? It's necessary. However, there are some things, especially when it comes to our body, that we can literally remedy ourselves if we just slow down and really tune in.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. So you said that earlier you said that, you could go on and on about your journey. So tell us a little bit more about your journey, and in a way, that would help our viewers on their journey, like lessons learned and growth and things like that you got from your experience.
I mean, the biggest thing for me is that it's okay to lose, right? It's okay to fail because during this process, financially, it really impacted me because I literally had my new business for 2 years, if that. And then April 11th, boom, everything changed. I could barely stand, I couldn't work. And yes, I had money saved because I, was a working able body. So I had money saved. But that year of my recovery, the first year, I basically spent all of my savings and my money trying to stay alive, like trying to make sure my children had life, make sure, we were able to have a place to live. But it got to the point where I could no longer sustain that. And I had to really come to that reality. Like, I remember the day that I spent my last penny, literally a penny. I remember. And I felt I don't want to say hopeless, but I was devastated because it was like this life that I was preparing for and building, right? That I thought I was doing right. I was in corporate America. I was a district educator. I was traveling. I had my salary, all the perks, right? I had my garage, my garage door opener. I had a balcony. I was living, okay? And then it was just like, no, you're not. Start over. I even bought a sofa for my business because like I said, I couldn't stand for more than 20 minutes. So although it was beautiful and aesthetically nice for the clients to see, that was necessary for me to be able to continue to work. I also was unable to go back to work full time. So this has been a continuous impact on my life, my mental health at times, because early on, when you have a head injury of the magnitude, it feels like you're trapped inside of yourself. Right? It's like you're trapped in the old version of you is still there inside, but you're trapped inside of this kind of new entity, this new being, this new way of having to like maneuver through the world. And that was a lot of support through, you know, my there was a psychologist that I had to see. I was in occupational therapy, I was in physical therapy, I was in all the therapy, speech therapy. It wasn't until maybe like 2 years ago that I was able to finish reading a full book, and it took me a year to do that.
Wow.
And I am still processing through understanding my brain and what that looks like. So, you know, one thing I did, like I said, I'm an advocate for myself. I will advocate to the end of time, because we know what that looks like in these medical, you know, fields. Right. And what I did recently, I'm completing my undergraduate in applied leadership, but I took a class on the brain because I needed to know, okay, why am I still glitching, right? After 10 years. And what is it what is the issue? Like, what is it? And so I luckily was able to have an MRI. And then from taking the class, I taught myself what was happening. And what it boils down to is I have scarring in my white matter of my brain, which causes my, you know, the electrical currents or what have you to kind of get lost sometimes. Right. And so I'm having to retrain my brain how to do things. Something as simple as following directions, something as simple as remembering names, or, you know, taking a left versus a right, or like when it first happened, my kids, we were cracking up. It wasn't funny, but it was funny. Like our house phone was in the refrigerator. You know, I couldn't figure out how to line up the shoes in a shoebox. Like, it were things like the things that we take for granted.
I was just thinking that.
I was unable to do effectively, you know. And one instance that happened, I went to Cuba. This was like, I feel like maybe like a year, or not even a year after the incident. And I was in Cuba, and it was the first time, and everybody's looking at me like, oh, you're washing the dishes. But for me, washing the dishes was like, I'm standing here washing these dishes, you know, and I cried because I literally was able to stand there and wash the dishes.
Yeah.
And yeah, it makes me emotional because it still impacts my life. And so what I want people to know out there is, like, you have autonomy, right? You have the capability, you have the power, and you're not powerless when something you feel maybe is just taking your world upside down. You know, you just have to recalibrate and reteach yourself, relearn. And that's what I've been doing.
Yeah. So I actually think this is a good place to start to transition. But I want to ask you this before we move to you sharing more about how people can connect with you. If you can speak to the viewers who are in the process of going through something that is life altering. It may not have been an accident per se. It could be relationship, it could be job up, but like something that like they never saw coming, wasn't on their radar, but it has knocked them off their point about how they can move through their recovery process, because regardless of what that thing was, that there is recovery. How do you get back on point or establish a new point? Because maybe the old one just no longer exists. You cannot ever be who you were before.
Right.
How do they move through that to get to the point where they feel whole again, they feel okay, they feel strong, and that they can really move forward and out of that place of I'm trying to figure out what's going on, what I need to do, who I am, and all of that.
I mean, honestly, it's really a daily, a daily activity, a daily purpose and movement. I think when we enter into those spaces of life altering, life changing, oh my God, it will never be the same. It's intentional. It's on purpose, because sometimes we think we're on one path, but the universe is like, but no, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And for me, that was evident, like I was on a path, and then the universe was like, no, this is the bigger calling to the work. So I would say that use it as your ministry, right? Use it as your toolbox to lead you to whatever that next thing is, and be unshakable while you do it. Don't think that you are a victim to whatever the circumstances, because life happens. It happens to all of us. Life is good and it's bad at the same time. At the same time. And sometimes when it's going good, something happens, you're like, oh man. But it's like, no need to defeat yourself, right? Because what's been done has been done. And like they say, there's nothing new under the sun. So somebody's been through this before you, and somebody wrote about it, somebody talked about it. So again, turn it into your ministry. Let that be your purpose, right? And even if you're not aware of what happens next, it take it a minute at a time. Like there are days where I have nothing to give, and I just have to lay down in the bed because my brain is literally fatigued, and that's a real thing. So I think having grace and being able to be honest with yourself about whether or not you can show up for that day. It's okay. Like we don't have to show up every day, and I want us to offer ourselves grace in that space, and just take, like I said, those moments as ammunition for what you plan to do next. And if you don't have a plan, it's okay, because it will all be revealed, so there's no rush. We're not rushing to the finish line. We're just here to enjoy the ride, I guess.
Yeah,
wow.
That was good.
Yeah, that was good.
Yes.
I guess Malika, I'm thinking, because I'm thinking about the woman who's watching, the women who are watching, but to that woman whose body is trying to tell her something, right? Or been trying to tell her something. What do you tell her?
That's a hard one, because I think sometimes, and especially as Black women, we tend to push things to the side, right? We know how to compartmentalize. We know how to structure it just so that we can cope with it and carry on, But one thing I will say is really pay attention to what's happening in your body. Like my left side, your left side is related to your emotions. The right side, I can't remember right now because my brain, like, it doesn't hold stuff. I knew it the other day, but today I don't know it. But I know the left side is emotions. And so, like, pay attention to those things. Like, if you have, say your right hand is hurting, okay, maybe, just maybe, it's not because you held a cup for, however many times a day. Maybe there's something internal happening emotionally or mentally that's causing that pain. So I always like to correlate the things that I do with Eastern medicine, because your body is a roadmap, right? It's going to tell you where the blockages are. And one thing I really love is I love acupuncture, because that kind of gives you an idea of where those blockages live, and it helps you kind of navigate. So if you're able to kind of combine those ancient practices that were here long before any of us, right? I think that is a great start. And understanding your body type, understanding, like I love Ayurvedic medicine. Like that is a whole, science in itself, but it's holistic science, and it's real. So I think just kind of exploring new spaces to give you answers. Books, there's so many amazing books out there available. One of my favorite books that I just love this book, and I want everybody to get this book, is called The Conjuring of America. And this book, I might have to grab it for you. I'm going to grab it one second, because this book right here is this is the book, The Conjuring of America, and it is by Lindsay Stewart. And this book is basically kind of talking about everything I'm talking about. It's remembering who you are, right? Remembering your God-given gifts, your DNA, your ancestral lineage of information that is in you. We just don't listen to it because we're, been what's the word? Distracted, right? But it's here, and we haven't. So this book right here, I just think it's phenomenal, and I wish everybody in the world could read it, because it is just going into that knowing. Because we all have it, but we got to just tap in. So that's what I would say to y'all ladies. Tap in.
Yeah, that's good. And it kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier about the stillness. Like part of the knowing is knowing you, right? But you can't do that if you're not quiet enough to hear yourself.
Yes,
You know?
yes,
Yeah.
Right.
yes, yes.
That's
And you
good.
know, I want to add this about hearing yourself. Sometimes you have to fight yourself. And I don't know if anybody's ever done this, but this happened to me before. And I remember I was like, it was after I had to move from my apartment after the accident, everything. I ended up having to move into my grandmother's home, which I'm grateful it was paid for. She was in assisted living. So it was like, okay, it worked out perfectly, right? Because again, I'm like, oh, I'm about to be homeless, but the universe said, no, you're not. You're just about to sit down and you're going to sit in your, okay, I say beat. And I had to do that in that space. And I remember the one day I was getting shoes, and I guess there's one shoes they didn't come, but everything just came tumbling down. And when I tell you I lost it, I started throwing stuff. I was screaming. I was just, and I've never screamed like that before by myself, right? Because again, we hold everything in, even our own innermost anger or whatever. And I screamed, and I was just, and I let it out, and I had to go to sleep. And I woke up and I was so sore. And I was like, oh my God, I just fought myself. And so I say to you ladies, don't be afraid to fight yourself. Square up. Because that's the only way you're going to break through.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's actually good advice.
Yes, absolutely. So, Erin, please share with our viewers how they can connect with you and learn more about what you're doing in the different arenas that you're
God, I
working.
should do so much. So you can follow me on Instagram at Erin H. Maybin, or you can also visit my website, erinhmaybin.com. Then I have another website, hairsteam.education. And that's all of the work that I do, like in a nutshell. And one thing I'm really excited to share is that I'm actually a fellow for the National Black Workers Center. And that is like going to be amazing. It started, it's from now until it's from April to next February. And so I'll be traveling to like where George Floyd, where that happened. I'll be going to visit Katrina, and I'll be here in Philadelphia with some other things that happen here. So I'm just, really grateful and thankful that I get to continue my work in my advocacy. I do write. I'm a writer, right? I have a blog that I was sharing with you guys earlier, and that's on my Erin H. Maybin website. But yeah, I'm just here to change the world to the best of my ability. And I'm grateful that hair has allowed me that amazing, opportunity, because hair is the fabric that connects us all, despite what we're told.
Oh, I love that. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I love you saying, that you're here to change the world. Like, I love that. Just kind of saying it in that power. Like, I know that I was brought here to change the world, and that's what I'm going to do.
Yes. Yeah. And oh my, I'll be remiss if I forget to talk about my fellow co-founders. So I am also co-founder of the Natural Hairstyle and Braid Coalition, and we are based in New York State, but we are actually global because we do big things. And we are changing the landscape of legislation around natural hair curriculum and testing. And so we need your support. We would love to have you join us and just, learn more about our mission. We have meetings every first Monday of the month, and we actually just had one before this. So I was like, I gotta go. But I just it's all aligned, and it's really just about taking care and making sure it's the duty of care that we have, that is our responsibility as Black women for other Black women, because we are Black women. So that means that it's for us too.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Awesome.
I love that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Erin.
Thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
So, for those of you who are tuning in, we want to thank you for joining us for another episode of The Coaches Are In. Again, whether you're watching live or you're watching the replay. And we will be back on Monday, April 20th. And maybe Allison will decide to show up for that episode.
Maybe we can pull her away from a beach.
Maybe.
I don't know. She likes the beach.
We're going to be talking about marriage on the 20th. We've got some questions, some viewer questions that came in around that, and we're going to be responding to those questions. And you know how we do.
We keep it real.
genuine,
raw,
authentic, right? So it ought to be another good one.
Yes.
So we will see you all on the 20th at 8 p.m. right here on the Coaches RN. Yes. All right. Until then, we'll see you next time.
The Coaches RN. When you need a timely, transparent friend, tune into the Coaches RN. Talking career, business, health, and wealth. You got a friend now into the Coaches RN.